Recording is on.
Ah, yes, that familiar voice. Um, okay, so I won't repeat that too much, but we'll go over a few timelines. We'll open up to the community. Please feel free to ask questions in chats all the while, or you could raise your hand. But yeah, really, this is indeed a community call in the truest sense. We would love to hear your suggestions, questions, all that, just like the first time around. It was actually really helpful. And yeah, so let's start it off. Maybe I'll pass it off to Daniel to just say a few words, what's up on his end, because I know the community doesn't get to see or speak to him as much as Brecht or myself. So let's pass it over to Daniel.
Thank you, Matthew. Hello, everyone. Really glad to see so many people here. I'm right now in China, so I'm having some connection issues, especially when I access the the other part of the internet. If you don't hear my voice clearly, I'm sorry for that. There's little I can do now. As Matthew said, this is Loopring is a project almost 3 years old. We experienced quite some change, in the middle of the development. But we still feel very, excited about what's going to come up in Loopring. Briefly, we have the new version of the protocol just launched. Actually, over last month, we also, kept improving the implementation a little bit. For example, like 2 weeks ago, we add a new circuit to the protocol. But I think right now the protocol is almost is stable, although we are still looking forward to security audit reports, and based on that, maybe we will add a few improvements. But I think most things we want to see are already in place. Internally, we are doing like trusted setups to make sure the proving keys, verification keys are safe, secure. I mean, the AMM features are enabled in our relayer, so we are almost ready to roll out the product. For some of you who are not familiar with Loopring, we also offer a smart wallet application. So right now we are working on a new release of the Android app, and we are also working on iOS implementation, and we hope to release a beta of the iOS app before Chinese New Year. We're also working on publishing the Android app on Google Play. So with that, we plan to do a liquidity mining campaign with several trading pairs or AMM pools enabled for receiving IRC as rewards. Long term, we are going to do more rewards to incentivize people to, especially IRC token holders, to use their IRCs to create liquidity for IRC itself. So later, I'm going to share the idea about our new economic design. It is not finalized yet, but I think we want to share the information so that the community can give us some feedback. In general, I think we are, I think I said it during our last community call, we are in the middle of transitioning from research to product and operation. We want to be a consumer-oriented company and put user experience as our top priority. We want to serve users. We don't want just to do some research and have some technical stuff. We don't want to sell the technology. We want to serve people with our technology. So basically, that's it. I'm not sure I missed anything, Matthew. you can talk specific things in more detail. So that's a quick summary of what we have been up to during the last month or two. I cannot recall when was our last community call, like 2 months ago, right? So it's about 2 months.
Right.
Yeah. So that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I think our last one, our first one was middle of October, and then we did one for the Chinese community, Chinese-speaking community last month. So maybe it'll be the rhythm: 1 month, and then one for the Chinese community, and then back here. So every second month, but or maybe more frequently. So Daniel, just to get ahead of some inevitable questions or things that are like on a lot of people's minds, when a few dates, like roughly, everything here take with a grain of salt, liable to be moved, but yeah, Daniel, when when Google Play Store?
So we have the account. Ready. It's just a question of how long it's going to take for a smart wallet app to get reviewed and approved. We don't know that yet, but I think the ball is not in our hands. We have to wait for Google's response. So not sure. Maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And what about when iOS?
So internally, we have pretty aggressive plan, but when we talk to the community, we have to say, it's before Chinese New Year, which is early February. But we don't want to roll out the app, all at once. We may have to use like a test flight to and ask some community member or LRC token holders to try the app first. So it's going to be a gradient release, just like the Android app. We have been testing our Android app for maybe two months, maybe even 3 months with like 100, 200 users before we try to launch on Google Play. So with iOS, we are going to do the same thing.
Okay, great. Before Chinese New Year I'm satisfied with that for iOS. I hope other people may be. When this one I think is an easier answer. When the ability to add and remove liquidity to the AMM from the current Android app. When liquidity management in app.
So we about like 2 hours ago, we released another beta version of the Android app with liquidity management. So you can add remove liquidity with the app. You can swap. There's one thing missing from the app, which is still very necessary before we can start the liquidity mining. It is the dashboard. We want to show how much money you earn if you provide liquidity there. So the dashboard, similar to Uniswap.info, that's designed but not yet implemented. It will take about 1 more week to get it ready. So hopefully next Wednesday, Thursday, we get everything ready. Although maybe not perfect. We first of all, I think that our principle is not trying to become perfect before we roll out the new functionalities or features. We want to see our community's response to the new features. Maybe the thing we are going to provide is not what they want, so we don't want to make big mistakes. So next Thursday, Thursday, we are going to have the dashboard ready on the Android app. On the web side, we are also adding some information to exchange.loopring.io to show some more data regarding the profit or income of liquidity provision. But our priority have been given to mobile apps, because in China, a lot of internet companies, they don't have website. Maybe they have a like an introductory website, but all the functionalities are wrapped in mobile apps, and people, they all use mobile apps, not website. Right now with DeFi, with Ethereum, I think especially Western community members, they still use MetaMask. Not a lot of people do like DeFi interactions on the mobile side, but in China, it's quite a different story. People would rather go to a centralized exchange instead of using like MetaMask to access DeFi. So we feel strongly that mobile apps, mobile experience should be our first priority, because we have this strength in China, in Chinese community. There are so many potential users of Loopring Smart Wallet. So that's our priority. So in general, sorry, this is a long answer. So next week you will see the dashboard. It will make you more happy with liquidity, participating into the liquidity mining activity. Yeah, so one more week to wait.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. No, that's actually very helpful, I think, for a lot of people. That gets to an important truth about Loopring, that we will be very mobile product focused and try to get tens of millions of users in the all important Chinese market. So thank you for that. Let's shift gears a little bit just to keep it diverse. Let's hand it over maybe to Brecht to speak a little about the trusted setup that's coming, or a bit about like the technical part of the ZK rollup, what's going on with the circuits and what's going on with the trusted setup. I also see, don't mean to call him out, I see we have Wei Jie on the call, if that is him, an illustrious zero knowledger as well. So he might be interested in the circuit talk and stuff like that. So thanks for joining.
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, just wanted to say hello. Brecht, maybe you could talk about, and hi to Patrick also, Dr. Prophet, I see you over there, a great Loopringer. All right, Brecht, maybe take it over, please.
Okay, so yeah, not too much going on actually at the protocol side, but yeah, like Daniel said, we did add like this extra circuit type, which allows us to verify a signature that we normally only check on layer 2. So instead of having to do a normal Ethereum signature check on chain, we can now do a signature check inside the circuit. And the benefit for that is that, well, we can just use the existing keys from layer 2 instead of having to depend on like some kind of layer 1 authorization method, which is the biggest benefit is for our smart wallet, because for the smart wallet, there's some extra complexity because you can lock your wallet, or you can transfer your wallet over to another owner of the wallet. So that makes your signature invalid, which is kind of like a problem, because we have to process all the transactions, and we kind of want to have like this one signature that we can always use to add and remove liquidity. So that's where the extra circuit comes from. For the trusted setup, yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I had to do a couple of fixes. So of course, it's basically the trusted setup stuff that we used for 3.1, because we still use the same technological stack. But there were a couple of problems with the code, which should now have been fixed. So I actually downloaded the participation file yesterday from Freeman. So I will be running the trusted setup on my PC after this call ends. So let's see how that goes. Then we'll do some additional testing to make sure that all the proving keys and verification keys are actually valid from this participation. So yeah, then we'll share some extra. Well, I'm not sure who will actually participate from Loopring internally, but yeah, it can go fast like that. So I guess if there's no problems, these keys will be on chain, used on chain, like maybe next week or something like that. So yeah, that's, I think, from the protocol side. Maybe the other notable thing to mention is that our Dune page is now also updated. So you can check there for what transactions are actually done on the ZK rollup, and lots of other info like volume traded, volume transferred, and also some extra info about the Loopring wallets. So you can see how many wallets are created, how many transactions people have done on their wallet, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, the Dune page is I guess pretty good now.
Okay, thank you, Breck. For everyone wondering, the Dune page is just like our analytics dashboard. So duneanalytics.com/loopring shows you might all be familiar with it from V1, shows you all the stats, volume, assets in the deposit contract. Now we have it so for V1, for Loopring V2, plus the smart wallet. So kind of like 3 levels of stats. Obviously V1 is becoming deprecated, but you could have a look at V2. V2 is like Loopring Exchange V2, but protocol 3.6, as some of you may know. I'm kind of annoyed having to switch up between these Vs, but I think it's easier for everyone if we just call it like V1, V2, and only in like protocol specific talk do we refer to V3.6. Otherwise, let's just call it Loopring V2. And the smart contract wallet could be seen on the Dune page. I think there's nearly 2,000 wallets that have been created, which I'm very enthused with that number because it's still, only Android, only downloadable via API, and only 2 weeks old since we publicized it. So I'm happy with that. Brecht, one question for you. So you're going to start the ceremony a little bit right after this call. Are we only doing an internal one, or is this the external one as well, where other participants will come in?
This is still the internal one because the circuit audit is still running. So there could be some additional changes we have to do. So if we do a public one, we don't want to ask people to do it twice because we had to do some additional changes. So the internal one for now, until we are sure that the circuits are completely fixed or completely final.
Okay.
I can add some thoughts on that because someone in the chat also asked the question. So the real public trusted setup will start only after we got the security audit report. If there's no issues, then we can start a public trusted setup based on the internal trusted setup. Otherwise, if we have to modify the circuits, then we will have to restart the internal trusted setup again. And then once we get everything work, then we can invite people to join the setup and to run more runs based on our internal trusted setup. There is one principle I want to talk in Loopring. We, especially myself, I don't want to rely on trust when we like for example, if we do liquidity mining, there will be a lot of money coming in, right? I don't want to rely on the integrity of every team member in Loopring. So we need to do an internal trusted setup so that at least several core members of Loopring will establish their faith, their confidence in the security of the protocol. So before the liquidity mining, I would do the trusted setup, but Brecht will be there. There's another engineer who have been focusing on protocol development will run the trusted setup. And then our CTO, our other core members will volunteer to be part of the trusted setup. So at least we have this internal one, internal ceremony to make sure, at least those developers inside Loopring don't have any trust issues regarding the security of the protocol. As soon as we have this security audit report ready and got all the issues fixed, we will open the door. And if any of you, want to join the trusted setup, we will welcome and thank you for the effort. A little warning is that the trusted setup is really resource. What's the word? It takes a really strong hardware configuration, like hundreds of gig of memory runs for hours, because our circuit is, we push the number of constraints of the circuits to the extreme. It's really complicated, really big. So so if you, I have to make it clear, if you really want to have a absolutely secure protocol without trusting on the Loopring team in general, you shouldn't use the current protocol at all, because it's still not a public trusted setup, right? It's still internal. So that's very important. So if you participate in the liquidity mining, you should always warn yourself just to provide, only maybe a minimum amount of money. Personally, I put a lot of money there. The team, our CTO, our chief scientist, maybe Brett and Matthew will also put some money there. But you shouldn't trust a team entirely. You should always know that there's a risk factor there. But that's in talking about trusted setup, that's our plan. So the public trusted setup is going to be public, but after the report.
Right. Thank you very much, Daniel, for that. I think it's very important. Just to summarize what we're talking about here, some people may not be aware. So Loopring is an open source protocol. You see all the smart contracts, you could see the zero knowledge circuits. Together that makes the Loopring protocol that we build our products on. The smart contracts have been audited by least authority. You could see that on our GitHub. The ZK circuits are in the middle of being audited, but this whole trusted setup business we're talking about is, and I may misspeak here, but this is how I kind of dumb it down for myself, maybe it's helpful, is the Loopring relayer, the operator that actually aggregates the transactions and makes the ZK rollup blocks, proves them, submits the data to Ethereum with the corresponding proof. That operator is a centralized thing. That is the Loopring relayer. It's a big, heavy-duty, piece of software and machinery that actually makes the ZK rollup run. To be sure that that operator can't ever falsify what's happening, or say something happened that didn't happen, doesn't follow the protocol rules, falsify a proof, it needs to have this trusted setup, this set of keys that could, without a doubt, if a person just believes in the cryptography, there was no way to have created this validity proof unless it's valid according to the protocol rules. Right now, we don't have that trusted setup, so it means that the Loopring relayer could misbehave. So we're not saying that the protocol is unaudited and completely, kind of like YOLO style or test in production. It's that you must trust the Loopring relayer that they will not try to be, unfaithful or do something wrong. When we do the internal trusted setup, that just means that if one team member out of, say, 5 that Daniel just mentioned does this trusted setup properly, this heavy computation where you get like an output and hand it over to the next person and you're supposed to dispose of your material, of like your toxic waste, if only one person out of the team does that faithfully, then the relayer still could only act faithfully and can never mess around. Then, of course, what we will do is an open trusted setup where anybody could participate. We'll have dozens of people, hopefully, and that means if only one out of 25, however many people, if only one person did this computation correctly, then the protocol, then the circuits are forevermore to be trusted. That's why Daniel says if you do it and you acted faithfully, you could be sure the protocol could never be messed with. So sorry to explain that, but just to some context. Breck, maybe fill in a blank if I misspoke there, but that's what you should know. Everything is open source. We still maintain that as like our primary principle, but as a ZK rollup, this trusted setup business, which is serious business, you should know that you are trusting the Loopring team before there's a widely participated trusted setup.
Yeah, I think it was Chainlink got on Twitter that also recommended. I think it probably makes sense to have like maybe 1 or 2 external people not associated with Loopring inside this internal trusted setup that we'll do, because that would make it like, I think the benefits greatly outweigh the downsides of like just taking a bit of time of these 1 or 2 people to actually join the trusted setup, because when we do that, it's actually already pretty secure, because we can do it like with a poll or something in the Discord, maybe some kind of trusted member that wants to join this internal trusted setup. So that it not only depends on completely Loopring people that do it, which is also like a big benefit, because external people can't exploit any zero knowledge proof bugs or whatever trusted setup stuff, because they can't submit any blocks. So it's only we that actually can submit blocks. So it's also we that only can exploit any of these things. So if we have a couple of external people in this internal trusted setup, then that also like solves that problem completely. So yeah.
Right. That's a very good point. Again, it's only us that could submit the blocks and thus maybe not do what the protocol expects. So, okay, that's a very good chat about that. If there's no more, by the way, all the questions in the chat, I see Daniel's answering some. I'll also go back through them all. Any that weren't answered, we will answer. So sorry if we're not attending to it now, but we will. Let's speak briefly, or I'll just say something quickly that comes up a lot. When will we add new AMM pools? The answer, first of all, is quickly. We will try to do it in like big batches, maybe of like 10 to 20 popular pools per time. We are also right now creating like a pool request form where people could submit the desire to create a pool and actually create a liquidity mining campaign for that pool. So even if it's not your own, let's say, I don't know, Patrick over there wants to incentivize ETH WBTC. He could submit a form saying, I want to put up, 5 BTC as liquidity mining rewards for everybody. More likely it would be like a token issuer that wants to put their token versus ETH and put some of their token up for rewards. But we will have this form that kind of expedites this and could get pairs spun up more quickly and get them even incentivized for LPs. We will also just add the pairs, that the community, just in Discord or Twitter, like if we see there's a lot of demand for something, we will do it. This speaks to the question of why can't people create their own pools like other layer 1 AMM, like Uniswap, where you could create any pool. This is an important point, so I'll spend a minute on it. It's both a technical reason and a non-technical reason that we can't have just any pool and just allow anybody to create a pool like they may be used to on layer 1. First of all, as kind of we just spoke about, the Loopring relayer must kind of recognize this pool and start processing it, or at least that's how I conceptualize it. So even, I think at the protocol level, somebody could create a Loopring layer 2 pool. It could be a random token, it could be kind of like a scam token, but the relayer might not want to recognize it. We won't kind of register it in the relayer or at the protocol level. I'm not sure where it happens, but so somebody could create a pool, but we won't necessarily recognize it. That also is for a non-technical reason, because as a centralized operator, of course, just to be clear, the centralized operator, once the trusted setup is done and stuff, it could never act maliciously, right? It is completely 100% Ethereum security guarantees in terms of asset self-custody of the user, all that. But we are the ones processing the blocks. We do not want to be responsible for processing blocks that may contain a security or may contain a scam token, a fake token that somebody just minted, puts into a pool, other people go in, and then they rug pull people and people get hurt. Because we are the operator, we don't want to hurt our users. We don't want to hurt our mobile app users, our web app users. So for those two reasons, this is why we will never have a completely permissionless pool creation format, but we will try to make it as open as possible, be as responsive as possible to the demands of the community. But that is it's an important point that comes up a lot in the Discord, for example. Any words on that, Daniel or Brecht?
I completely agree. From my perspective, it's mostly about what our user want to see, right? If you take a look at the volume on Uniswap, you'll notice that most liquidity or trading volumes goes to those legit good tokens, right? Although people can create arbitrary pools, it doesn't really add value to Ethereum or Uniswap in the long run. So I don't think this, open access to creating pools will really add value to the user for the long term. But I also want to make sure it's much easier for new projects to get their token listed somehow. But there should be some flow, some practice, in place. We don't want to hurt our users. Their assets, their user experience are what we care the most. So we have to ask ourselves what they want in the long run.
Right. Okay. I'll take these two questions from the chat just because they're relevant to this, and then maybe I'll go up and take a few because maybe it'll spur other discussions. But Brent says, is there a plan to route trades through multiple pools automatically?
Yes. So just a bit more information about the Loopring protocol. So if you submit an order, the order can be routed to, in theory, okay, the protocol supports the order being routed to either one or more AMM pools or to an order book. Same order, you don't have to re-sign it. It can be partially matched one place or the other. So we have that planned, not going to be ready this month or next month, still a little bit low priority. But going forward, we want this smart routing to be enabled for most of the trading pairs.
Thank you, Daniel. So yeah, oh, there's an echo coming. Maybe it's from somebody that just joined. Oh, can everybody still hear me? Could you hear? Okay. But the echo went away. Okay. So yeah, you could route through multiple pools and even through the order books, which but that'll be coming. Hair Dog, nice to see you here, Hair Dog. Says, for all the dual pairs, will the ratio be 50-50? Or will there be optional splits, different ratios? So
I can also answer that question, Matthew.
Sure.
So our protocol, our AMM pools, they support different ratios on those two tokens. We also support multiple tokens in one single pool, just like Balancer does. But the current relayer doesn't have that feature ready yet. Is another functionality we want to add to the relayer. So going forward, there will be other type of pools, for example, with more than 2 tokens or with different fee settings. So we will do like A/B tests to make sure people can find their pools to join to provide liquidity. So those features are enabled by the protocol, but as a way to roll out functionalities gradually, the relayer doesn't have all the supports. So that's something we are going to work early next year.
Okay, great. So there's 20 minutes left until the hour, which I'll try to respect this time. Last time I went to an hour and a half. Well, so let me let's go through some of these questions, the ones that we may have missed so far, just because that I know Daniel has been answering some of them, so I'm just going through very quickly. Okay, yeah, one question that was, answered but not so thoroughly, and it's important for us, is like fiat. David, who is, very interested in Loopring in Latin America and actually building a payment solution that will likely use Loopring's layer 2, asks, will it support like fiat on and off ramp? This is something we're starting to think a lot more about now that we're becoming increasingly product focused. Fiat rails are on the docket, but nothing else to report there. I may have missed some others, but let's go right into this kind of new topic for today, which maybe a lot of people here will have great thoughts on. It's from Dr. Profit, Patrick. Congrats to the mobile app and AMM. Thank you. Can you talk more about your marketing or going to market strategy? What are the steps to reach 100,000 users or 500,000 users? China is very far away from us. Therefore, any information on the Chinese market and your position would be helpful. Daniel, maybe I'll allow you to start on that China focus, but then we could open this up to other people, how we could get there.
As a Chinese, I can say Chinese market is really different from the US. I think most people in China, they learn a project or product by opportunities of making money, right? They want to make money. So if your apps is cool, is high technology, but doesn't have a chance to make money, then they won't come. So I think DeFi integration, providing more opportunities for them to make money easily is a good way to attract a lot of Chinese users. The second approach or aspect is making the app really easy to use. When we launched our 3.1, the first version of the exchange using the web app, people feel it's not user friendly. So they really care about user friendliness. So in our app, we don't really pop up like the raw message or transaction to sign. We hide that detail from everyday users. It seems like very, very simple in most cases. So I think making money and making the app easy to use, and maybe provide some incentives is a I think is a good approach to attract some initial users. The other thing we are doing, and we have to put more effort on, is to maintain a community in China. We have a lot of people really love us. Although our product is far away from being perfect, they still support us strongly, just because we try to be transparent, to be honest, and maintain integrity, which is not quite common in China, to be honest. I'm not saying anything bad about this, but in China, most companies implement different strategy. We want to be more straightforward, sometimes even naive, but we want to we don't want to hide anything from the user. I think that's also very important for the long term. I think liquidity mining is also going to be really interesting. We want to see how many users will come. we expect maybe several thousand new user will come on board. Who knows? But this is something we have to try in China. The market also has a lot of challenges for us, especially from a regulatory perspective. We are really careful not to get involved in fiat, especially RMB. So a lot of things we cannot do just because we are physically in China. But this market, once you get a solid user base, you have a lot of opportunities. That's we are so pro the Chinese market, especially the market in layer 2 to layer 4 cities, those small cities, a lot of potential users. So we don't know the answer, but we cannot wait to try different approaches to try error and correct our marketing strategies. Yeah, so basically that's it.
Thanks, Daniel. By the way, this brings me, I wanted to actually create, I wanted to allow the community to help us with growth strategies, because you probably have better strategies than us. We're only now kind of really digging deep into this. So I'm going to create in the Discord a growth channel. I think we'll call it just growth or marketing, but maybe growth kind of is all encompassing. So we could all talk about that there. We could go over campaigns, ideas, but yeah, I really echo what Daniel said. Just a few words on that. How we get to 100,000 users. I mean, we're about to hit 10,000 accounts on Loopring's layer 2. I think there's like 9,500 and something. So that took basically, I mean, Loopring v3.1 launched last December, but the exchange only came out in late February. So it basically took 9 or 10 months to reach 10,000 users. That's when there was no other layer 2s. We were the first roll up until June on mainnet. So a lot of the education framework has been laid. L2 is on the top of everyone's mind, but that's like actually a deeper philosophical question. Is using the word L2, does that even, that's such a small, that's how we get like the crypto native people. Everyone on this call probably loves the fact that Loopring is layer 2 and is well aware of its benefits, but to get a normie involved, especially as we reach all-time highs right now in Bitcoin and everything else, and normies are coming in, they don't care about layer 2. They just want to see an app that is beautiful, as Daniel said, could make them money. That's like a pretty novel thing from like legacy style apps that you could just like use your assets really productively and stuff like that. So anyways, I won't rant on here, but a lot of growth initiatives are about to start. We have like internally a little growth hacking discussion that has now been going on, but I would love to get the community more involved in that. You certainly have some ideas that could help us. So I'll just go through a few more questions. From Simon, are you looking into methods to reduce impermanent loss as Bancor protocol is currently doing? That's a good question. I wonder if you're the same person who I spoke about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Maybe you brought that up to me. I think it's very cool. It is not top our radar right now. So maybe this could tie into the LRC model where we could subsidize some impermanent loss. Maybe we'll have time to talk about this on the call. I guess it's pretty important, but just as it stands, we implement Balancer on Loopring's layer 2, just for what that's worth. That's why we could have the multiple token pools, the multiple the different proportions, stuff like that. Balancer's thing about like single-sided liquidity is not something we're doing right now, but I do recognize its massive benefits. Maybe that's something for Breck to think about as the protocol designer. I'm not smart enough to think about how to implement impermanent loss protection. So yeah. When is the smart routing coming? Dr. Profit asked. Daniel, did you say roughly when the relayer will support smart routing?
We plan to get it ready in Q2, but It really depends. Q1 is different. Q1 we have long holidays in China, so probably we'll fix existing functionalities. So probably Q2. It really also depends on whether there is a need to prioritize this. If we don't have liquidity in more than one pool for the same token or order book, maybe it's not required. So we'll prioritize things, accordingly. But that's something planned, but not guaranteed. It's really we just want to build whatever our user desires, not what we feel they need. So the answer is probably Q2. Yeah.
Okay, great. Nikolai says, any partnership plans to help with new user onboarding? I guess that falls into the growth channel. Maybe we could discuss it there. Nothing imminent to announce there. No huge partnership or anything. But a lot of, I'll tell you, a lot of conversations are happening. Even people like David, who is kind of helping with the Spanish side. He's building a really cool payment remittance thing in Latin America. I think there's lots of builders that we're not even aware of that are looking at Loopring, but bigger ticket partnerships, nothing to announce right now. As you see, we're very focused on our products right now. It's taken 3.5 years to get here, to have a product that I personally use every day, and it's a delight to use, not a stretch to use. And so we're really focused on that right now. Patrick also said, any problems? Do we foresee any problems to get in the mobile app approved? I think Daniel touched on that a bit. Do you have any comment there, Daniel, or not really?
Yeah. So quick answer for that. In China, the app will not get approved by any app store. Is explicitly prohibited in China. But we have workarounds. In the Western countries, I think we will have no problem. But we have to act smartly. We don't want to roll out everything altogether. So you probably will see an app on, for example, Google Play or some other app stores without the order book trading functionalities, or without the swap. We want to make sure when the app store review our app, they can take a gradual approach. We don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of things. So that's a strategy, but we don't have to implement that strategy. If we got approved immediately, that's good. Otherwise, we will, get some functionalities out of the scope. So in general, I think I'm really optimistic about getting listed on Western app stores, especially Google Play.
Okay, great. Here's a nice practical question from Kelvin, very important. Could you guys go over how someone would recover the mobile wallet app? If I lost my phone today, how exactly would I recover? Do I need guardians if I have my private key? So,
Brett, maybe Brett can answer that.
Okay. So yeah, if you don't really have any private key that you can export from the wallet, so you definitely need the guardians. So that's actually what the guardians are for. So you have a couple of guardians. You just need the majority of your guardians to recover your wallet to a different owner. So that's kind of like one of the main benefits of this smart wallets, is that you don't have any seed phrase or something else that you have to store somewhere secretly. You just have your phone and a couple of guardians that you can trust. And so if you want to recover something, or you want to do like something that needs more authority than just the normal wallet owner, then you just need to ask your guardians, and they can approve this special operation.
Just a little bit more about guardians. They don't have to be people. They can be your hardware wallets. So if the wallet owner has a trust issue with people, they can buy hardwares, or rely on their own hardware guardians, which make the wallet like a multi-signature wallet. We don't expect people to use that mode often, because it doesn't make sense. If you lost. If something terrible happened to the wallet owner, then nobody can recover the wallet. But there's a solution. We will soon add the inheritance feature there, so you can set up your inheritance. Then he will, after a long time lock, he or she will be able to get access to your wallet. Yeah.
That's an amazing feature and not often spoken about, because it's somewhat sad to think about, but it's super important in crypto. But so by the way, I need to make a better educational blog or like FAQ about the wallet, showing exactly how to recover. I've been dragging my feet a bit because the actual app has been improved so much. Like the translations were a bit shoddy in English at first, so I didn't want to like have screenshots of the things that I knew would change. But now that the app is like pretty much perfect in English, I will create a better walkthrough about how to recover and things like that. So Simon said more aggressive marketing. We kind of went over that. Peter is here, PDD or PDID, I'm not sure he says it, but one of the biggest Loopring OGs of them all, been around for as long as I can remember. Maybe a different marketing approach for China, Europe, and USA is required. I definitely think so. I kind of view that there's like the crypto marketing approach. So that's like all, Twitter and Discord and Telegram, where everybody who is aware of this realm hangs out. But then it's like when we actually want to reach, again, normies, not using that in a bad way, but when we want to reach normal folks, then we need to probably have different strategies for China, for Europe, and for North America, which is good. On the call, we have Europe, Brecht in Europe, Daniel in China, me in North America. So at least we have boots on the ground in all places. But definitely, let's go over that again in the growth channel. We will need to distinguish. But I do view as like crypto user onboarding, it's like I view everybody almost in the same bucket. It's like, so to me, it's almost like for now still an Ethereum native user. How do we acquire them? And then how do we acquire people that don't know what the heck a ZK rollup is? That's maybe soon it'll be time to transition to other bucketing of user groups. Daniel mentioned the regulator thing. I'll skip that, hair dog. Back to Dr. Pravit. Can you comment on the Diversify news? So yeah, very briefly, yesterday Diversify put out a blog post with us saying this like layer 2 squared consortium or committee. That's just as it's just a working group to work together to make sure we're not heading in completely divergent paths. They build on Starkware. We just want to have a general awareness that we could remain compatible at some point, layer 2 to layer 2, not long, not just the naive way of going to layer 1 and going back there, maybe some type of liquidity mechanism or in between. So it's just like the first steps of a little working group for layer 2. It's not exclusive. It's not like some Loopring and Diversify teaming up or merging. It's just an acknowledgement that we are aware that we need to be friendly, and indeed we are friendly, but this is just kind of putting that out to the world. Layer 2s on Ethereum need to work together, especially validity proof based ones. So that's us, that's Starkware, which Diversify is on top of, and Matter Labs. I'm sure Matter Labs will get involved in this as well, or hopefully, because they're super important as well. So it's just, I was thinking about it. I don't know if some of you remember, but DeFi started as also like a working group, or it was a group, like it had a web page, and I remember applying to get on there, and we were up there, maybe the 6th or 8th team. It's like you have to apply to become DeFi. Now that sounds so ridiculous, right? We all know DeFi is hard to put into words, but it's not something anybody controls. To say like, hey, I'm applying to be into DeFi is crazy. So this layer 2 squared thing or layer 2 consortium might be the same thing. Ideally, it becomes like obsolete because everyone is just using the standards, and there's no like, hey, I want to be in this group. It's like you could be in the group yourself by following these principles, which could be it's actually very similar, because DeFi, a lot of people falsely claim to be DeFi. They just use it, and it's not true. Layer 2 might have that exact same problem. People will try to say layer 2, but really it'll be like a side chain, right? With new validators that you have to trust. So if we could formalize that layer 2 label, then this group could be very useful in terms of standards. And in one word, knowing that a user has layer 2 guarantees means they don't have to trust Diversify or Loopring for their assets, whereas they might have to trust if you use a side chain or something like that, or whatever other constructions. Okay. Matthew, yeah, losing normie term would help normie onboarding. Yes, but this call is for the real Loopringers for now. Soon it'll be for everyone. Okay, so I guess that's like pretty much all the questions, and we're at the hour. Daniel, I wonder if you want to mention the LRC design that you were thinking about, or we could wrap it up.
Yeah,
up to you.
Sure. I can talk briefly, because our time is up. I can talk briefly about our ideas regarding the new LRC token economic design. So the current design locks LRC in a smart wallet, smart contract. So it serves only one purpose, which is probably not as good as we expected. So it can only lock your liquidity there, but it doesn't help the ecosystem, doesn't help LRC, doesn't help Ethereum. So we feel like, since liquidity mining is so popular, people really think providing liquidity should earn something. Why don't we create a new model to enable people to earn continuous liquidity mining rewards out of our protocol fees? By the way, the protocol fee is like a very small percentage of all the trading volumes, including all the tokens, not just LRC. So there, if Loopring got popular, there will be a constant income or revenue source, right, for Loopring token holders. But we feel like we need to incentivize people to to contribute to the ecosystem. So the way to contribute to the ecosystem is to provide LRC liquidity in our AMM pool or the order book. So if they do that, we will probably give away like 75 or 80% of all the liquidity, all the protocol fees to those liquidity providers. So the more the protocol fee is, the more the liquidity provider will earn, and the better liquidity we will have for LRC. And we will also, probably, reward liquidity for other tokens. But I think the majority goes to LRC liquidity provider. A small part goes to some other tokens, for example, Ether, right? Because we all love Ether. So maybe if they provide, Ether USD or Ether DAI liquidity, we can also incentivize occasionally. The other part we want to incentivize is like participation into a DAO. We sooner or later will have to set up a DAO so that people can vote on, for example, parameter values or something like that. So we will probably give like 5% of all the protocol fees to DAO, and maybe burn maybe 5%, and then maybe use another maybe 10% as an insurance to make sure if something bad ever happened to the Loopring smart wallet or the exchange, we have something to cover. So that's the basic idea. We don't have the the numbers finalized yet. But one thing we are quite certain is to make sure everything happens on layer 2, so that we don't have, we don't have to create a burden, for Ethereum mainnet. If we really distribute a lot of tokens to liquidity providers, there will be many transfers. And if those transfers all happen on layer 2, well, there's no problem. But if on layer 1, it will be a huge cost for the project and a terrible experience for other people who use layer 1. So hopefully we can get things finalized. Not finalized, maybe not finalized, but like we have a draft that we feel like ready for the community to review or even vote. And then if enough people approve the new design